Hi. Thank you for attending today's reading. Let's begin. Does anyone else make up stories so they can sleep? I do this all the time. Mostly fan fiction about my favorite shows or about me inside my favorite shows, but YH. Does anyone else do this, and what do you make up stories about? End of story. Next story. My awkward and frustrating flight to Buenos Aires. If you're going to fool around, don't do it on a flight for your mission trip. I was told that people might enjoy if I expounded on a story I shared over in the comments section of our Instant Karma here. This is all 100% true and was the most awkward and, in many ways, frustrating plane flight of my life. Back in 2017, I was just about to start the second year of my master's in marine science, and I was selected to go with a field team to Puerto Madryn, Argentina, to take part in a research mission in the Golfo Nevo collecting hydrographic and coastal process data. This was a very exciting trip planned for the first week of June, but due to how grant budgets work, the travel would be rough. I was given a ticket from Miami to Buenos Aires, where we would then take a small charter plane to Puerto Madryn. In total, I would spend about 15 hours in the air in one day. I knew it was going to be a shitty flight when I arrived at the gate at 5:45 a.m. for my 6:30 a.m. flight, and there was a sea of about 30 teenagers wearing matching baby blue t-shirts emblazoned with the words Church of Christ Mission Trip 2017 or something similar. I don't remember the church, but the color of the shirts and the logo in the middle with a smiling emoji sun with shades on, holding a cross in one hand and the other making a peace sign, will forever be burned into my brain. I'm not religious and I hold no animosity towards them for being a mission trip, but the feeling of apprehension I felt was related to the fact that I would be packed into a plane for more than 9 hours with a bunch of high schoolers. They were annoying from the get-go, taking up gate seating with bags, yelling back and forth to each other, doing photo and video shoots on their phones and everything else a group of teenagers does when they are excited for a trip of a lifetime. Things only kept going downhill from there. When we boarded, I quickly learned that I was seated among them in the middle rows in the back of the plane. Their entire group took up pretty much the entire middle seating section, and I was in a middle aisle seat with them. They took up all the overhead bin space, and my backpack had to be stored far from me. They continued to yell back and forth and be generally obnoxious when all I wanted to do was close my eyes and try and sleep as much of this long-ass flight as I could. As soon as we reached cruising altitude and the seat belt sign came off, they were all over the back cabin. I was constantly asked to get up and move so someone could get out and go talk so someone else. I was miserable. About 4 hours in, and after everyone had changed seats with each other, started watching the in-flight movie, or was napping, and I finally thought things were calming down, a commotion erupted one row behind me. There was a bunch of angry language being used, and girl jumped up and stormed off to the other side of the plane where the mission trip adult chaperones were. The conversation over there got quite heated, and then 2 of the adults and the girl came back to the seats, and that's when it really got started. A boy and a girl were sitting next to each other and had one of the in-flight blankets over them. It wasn't hard to listen in since I was only about 10 feet away, and it turned out they were dating and had started fooling around under the blanket and getting pretty handsy with each other. I guess they thought they were being subtle enough not to get noticed, but the girl in the seat next to them figured out what was going on and was having none of it. This situation quickly picked up speed and, in my opinion, spiraled out of control. The young couple started arguing with the chaperones and the girl who caught them. At first, they denied it, but then the girl admitted it was her fault because she let the boy go too far. Then one of the adults walked back over the other adults and they had a quick conversation. I figured they were just getting everyone informed and that the couple would be split up, and that would be that. Oh boy, was I wrong. A man younger than the other 6 or 7 adults. I'm guessing that most of the adults were parents and he was the pastor. Stood up and loudly told everyone he needed to make an announcement. The couple imminently looked like they were going to explode from embarrassment. He continued to say that there had been an incident and that 2 of their number had been tempted into sin on the flight. He then produced a Bible and told everyone that he was going to read some verses and that they should all pay attention. I don't know the Bible, but what he read was something about not making decisions that shame God and yourselves or something. He then walked over to the couple and asked him to stand up and confess right there on the plane. What's even wilder is that after some convincing they both did in lurid detail. Tears streaming down their faces. After that the pastor asked him to join him and everyone else in a prayer. This completed. Everyone was reshuffled in the seats, separating the boys from the girls to make sure there would be no more hanky-panky on the plane. This whole episode took about 10 minutes. I think. With everyone else in the back of the plane watching in a kind of fugue state, just soaking it in. Things were really quiet for a while. Uncomfortably quiet. As what happened soaked into everyone's brains. After a few minutes of awkward silence, I got up and went to the bathroom, and this seemed to snap people out of it. One of the older adults turned to the group and said something about cheering everyone up with some songs. While I was in the bathroom, they started quietly singing what I can only imagine are the songs you are taught at church summer camps. When I left the bathroom, I noticed 2 of the flight attendants in the back galley, both with expressions conveying that they did not get paid enough to get involved in this. I caught one of their eyes and she just let out a long, exasperated sigh. I spent the rest of that flight trying to tune out church songs and watch Assassin's Creed on my iPad. When we landed, I grabbed my stuff and booked it for baggage to get through customs and meet up with the others from my research team. After meeting up with the others who had flown in from other places, I was telling them about my crazy flight as we drank beers in the airport bar waiting for the charter plane when the boy and girl, escorted by one of the chaperones, walked past us and sat down at a gate. The flight board said it was for a flight leaving in an hour for Miami, and we could only assume that they were being sent home for being a little too friendly with each other. I may have been a little overly excited in pointing them out as proof of my story, and they noticed me. The girl turned a shade of red that Beats can only aspire to, and the chaperone scowled so hard at me that I think she wears it permanently now. We had to take off and finished our beers. And on the way out, a team member with a wry sense of humor waved at them and said something like, "Better luck next time." The next 2 weeks of our research trip went really well, and that Data completed the research I needed to finish my degree. Every time we were out on the boat and someone made a mistake, we would ask them if they wanted to confess anything and threaten to send them back to Miami as some good-natured ribbing. We also started referred to research trip as Mission Trip 2017. I'll never forget that bizarre and frustrating flight. End of story. That is all for today. If you want to support my automated channel, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. See you tomorrow.